All right, welcome everyone to another deep dive. Today we're strapping on our masks and grabbing our foils, or maybe epes or sabers, who knows, because we're diving headfirst into the exciting world of USA fencing.
It sounds unguarding.
Nice one.
I couldn't resist.
Well played. So, to be a little more specific, we'll be exploring some recent news straight from the USA Fencing website. Kind of like a digital bulletin board for all things American fencing, right?
Absolutely. Think of it as our source material for today's deep dive. It's where we're going to uncover all sorts of interesting happenings and stories.
Perfect. Now, are you ready to fence off some time and delve into this?
You know, I'm always ready for a good bout of fencing news.
Okay, first up, a headline that really jumped out at me. USA's Gabi Saparwal elected to World Para Fencing Executive Committee representing the Americas. Wow, that's quite a mouthful, but also pretty impressive, don't you think?
Definitely impressive. It's a big deal for Subarball and for U.S. parafencing as a whole.
For sure. But before we get too carried away, maybe you could break down what the World Parafencing Executive Committee actually is. You know, for those of us who aren't as familiar with the inner workings of the fencing world.
Of course. So the World Parafencing Executive Committee, it's essentially the governing body for parafencing at the international level. They're the ones who set the rules, promote the sport globally, and really work to ensure fairness and opportunity for athletes with disabilities.
So kind of like the referees of the whole parafencing scene.
Exactly. And having an American, Gabi Sabarwal, elected to represent the Americas on that committee, it shows that the U.S. is really becoming a force to be reckoned with in parafencing.
That makes a lot of sense. And it's even more exciting when you realize this news is practically hot off the press.
Yeah.
The article was published on, get this, November 12th, 2024, at 1:26 p.m. Eastern Time. We're talking about very recent developments here.
Yeah, we're right on top of it.
Exactly. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. The Read More section on the website has a whole bunch of other articles that caught my eye. And I think it'd be fun to jump around and see what else is going on in the world of American fencing. Sound good?
Let's do it.
All right. So one article that piqued my interest is titled Graham Weckes, Balancing Family, Career, and Fencing at Age 35. Now, I'm not a fencer myself, but I can imagine trying to balance all three of those things, especially at 35, has got to be, well, a challenge.
It definitely takes a certain level of dedication and time management, that's for sure. But I think it speaks to the passion that many fencers have for the sport.
It's not just a hobby, it's like a way of life.
Exactly. And I imagine the mental discipline that fencing requires, the focus, the strategic thinking, those skills probably translate well to managing a busy life outside of the sport, too.
Makes you wonder if fencers are secretly like time management ninjas or something.
Maybe they are.
Okay, moving right along, we've got a September 6th Paralympics preview, women's and men's individual EP event. This one must have been published, right before the event itself.
You're absolutely right. This kind of preview article is all about building anticipation for the Paralympics, highlighting the athletes who are competing, and maybe even giving a little insight into what to expect from the events.
Like a little teaser trailer for the main event. And speaking of events, how about this headline? Vet Worlds 2024, Day 3. Team USA dominance continues with golds for Walter's men's saber team. That's what I'm talking about.
Now, that's a headline that just screams national pride, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's awesome to see Team USA performing so well on the world stage, and this article probably goes into detail about their performance, like maybe their strategies, key moments, and individual highlights from the competition.
I bet it was a nail-biter to watch.
I'm sure it was.
Now, this next article is particularly inspiring. It's titled Project Empower Returns, Building the Next Generation of Women and Non-Binary Fencing Leaders. I mean, talk about an initiative that's really pushing the sport forward in a positive direction, right?
It's fantastic, isn't it? Project Empower's focus on inclusivity is, I think, crucial for the future of fencing. It's not just about getting more women and non-binary people involved, but about empowering them to take on leadership roles within the sport. That could involve mentorship programs, workshops focused on leadership skills, or even creating clearer pathways for them to become coaches or take on administrative roles.
It's about breaking down barriers and creating a more diverse and representative fencing community.
Exactly. And that kind of progress benefits everyone involved.
Absolutely. All right, last but not least in our news roundup, we have USA Fencing selects Megan DeFord as Director of Development, Executive Director of the U.S. Fencing Foundation. That sounds like a pretty important role.
It is. This position is all about fundraising, strategic partnerships, and making sure the U.S. Fencing Foundation is financially stable and able to grow.
So basically, she's the one making sure the lights stay on and the money flows so that all these amazing programs and initiatives can continue.
You got it. And it's a crucial role, especially with USA fencing seemingly in a growth phase right now.
It's like they're leveling up.
Mm.
But hey, before we wrap things up, I always like to take a peek at the website footer because, it's where all the official stuff lives.
Mhm.
And USA Fencing's footer is, well, it's quite official. We've got accessibility, sitemap, partners, terms of use, contact us, privacy policy, even an ombuds section. They're not messing around.
They've definitely got all their bases covered.
And of course, we can't forget the all-important copyright notice. 2024 Copyright USA Fencing, all rights reserved. Always got to have that.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. What would you say are the biggest takeaways from our little exploration of the USA Fencing website?
Well, I think it's clear that USA fencing is making its mark on the world stage, especially in the realm of parafencing. And there's a strong emphasis on inclusivity and diversity, as we saw with initiatives like Project Empower. Plus, the organization seems to be in a real growth phase with new leadership and a focus on expanding its reach.
It's almost like they're planting seeds for the future of American fencing.
That's a great way to put it.
And it makes you wonder, what will USA Fencing look like in 5–10 years? How will all these new programs and initiatives shape the future of the sport? Will we see even more Americans on those international podiums?
It's exciting to think about. And with the increased focus on diversity and inclusivity, I think we can expect to see a much more diverse and representative group of athletes competing and leading the sport in the years to come.
It's going to be amazing to watch it all unfold. So, to everyone listening, if you're even a little bit curious about fencing, I highly recommend checking out the USA Fencing website. There's so much more to explore, so many stories to uncover. You might just find yourself inspired to pick up a foil or saber yourself.
You never know until you try.
Exactly. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time for another exciting adventure in the world of, well, who knows what we'll explore next.
Until then.
See ya.